Ruud, the most reliable heating and air conditioning products in the DMV. And welcome onto the show. Longtime offensive coach in the NFL, coordinator, play caller, formerly here in Washington. Scott Turner is with us. Scott, you grew up in the area because your pops Norv was the head coach. I think you went to Oakton High School. So I'd imagine at some point you were a fan of all these DC teams. Are you still a Wizards or Caps fan, anything like that?
I follow the teams. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a fan. Yeah, I definitely was growing up. I mean, going to at the time when I was there, it was the Bullets, and then the name changed. Name changed to the Wizards. But yeah, definitely went to some games growing up and was a fan of the team. It's tough to follow it as closely, when you're moved and you're not in the area. But I did. I was actually just reading about the trade right now, right before I got on with you guys. It's pretty crazy stuff.
Dude, it is wild. Like, that doesn't happen here. You know, it happens. It's like another city thing, but it's Washington that it happened. It's just we're both floored by it. That's all.
Yeah, no, it was definitely some wild news. I did not expect it. There's a lot going on with DC sports. The thing I was reading a lot about this morning. It's really a shame with what's going on with the Washington Post. I feel so bad for so many of those reporters, people that covered, the team when I was with the Commanders, and it just really is a shame because, I grew up reading the Washington Post and I got a lot of my sports knowledge, and I used to cut the bracket out every year, and just the fact that that's going away is, there's a lot more going on, obviously, but it's really terrible, that's happening.
Here. Well said. Something we're going to talk a lot about on the show as we continue today. Scott Turner's with us on the Ruud Guest Hotline on Grant and Danny. All right, Scott, we could go in a lot of directions here. There's a ton of things I want to talk to you about, but I guess let's just start with the offenses that have gotten to the Super Bowl and the play callers, the coordinators themselves. So Josh McDaniels in New England, who's had his chance as a head coach in the past a couple times, and then Clint Kubiak from the Shanahan tree, who is a widely regarded terrific play caller with Seattle and is going to get his first crack at being a head coach in Vegas coming up after this year. What are your thoughts on these two guys? What makes them so successful at what they do?
I'm a big fan of both of them. I worked with Clint in Minnesota in 2014, so I was the quarterback coach, and Clint was our assistant receiver coach. And then he left after that year to go to Kansas. And Clint's really kind of a no-nonsense guy. Doesn't say a lot, but when he does, people listen. Really smart. Obviously, his dad Gary, he grew up, with that, learning that offense, and then worked for Kyle Shanahan. And he's been around a lot of different really good coaches, and he's kind of made it his own. Obviously, like it's the Shanahan tree, but it's his offense, and there's different things he does off of it. The under center. The run game, and they do a nice job running the ball, but really where they are the best is they find explosive plays in the pass game. I mean, Sam Darnold led the league in turnovers, and people don't really talk about that because of the amount of explosives they've been able to get in the play action pass game. And obviously it's off the wide zone action, whether it's like a keeper or just like your standard hard action play action pass. But that's kind of the secret sauce of their offense, is kind of chasing explosives, and they've done a great job of doing that. And then Josh, I worked for Josh. When I left Washington, Josh hired me as a pass game coordinator in Vegas, and I was there with him through the offseason in 2023, and then and then through the season in 2023, he got fired, I think, after the 9th game. And Josh is amazing. I mean, just being able to sit in there with him, and I know it didn't work out like in Vegas, but I was able to. He wanted me to be in there with all the game plan meetings with him, and he's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. I mean, he doesn't miss anything. There's no detail that he doesn't miss with the offense. He can sit on the practice field and someone can make on the far side, someone make a mistake and he sees it. I've never been around someone like that, and just understands the big picture of offensive football. And he's got it all, like whether it's the 21 personnel 2-back runs or ability to go 11 personnel and spread you out. And the thing about that offense that I really respect is like he doesn't care, like whatever he thinks, if he's got to throw it 50 times or if he's got to run it 50 times, like he doesn't care. He's going to do whatever he thinks is best to win the game. And you've seen, I think this is the 9th Super Bowl he's coached in as a coach. And I know the head coach stuff, and there's some different things that, whatever. I mean, I was there and at the Raiders, and there's some different things that are issues with that. But it's as far as his his track record as offensive coordinator, I don't think there's anybody in the league that has the background he does. So both those guys, like I said, I know both of them, and got a lot of respect for both of them and what they bring to the table as coaches.
Scott Turner with us here on G&D. Well, Scott, I want to talk about defense with you. So you were with the Jets, and you saw this Patriots defense up close a couple times. I just want you to just kind of give us a 30,000-foot view of what you saw in the regular season, and then I want to know what's going on with them in the postseason. They've morphed into the 85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens, and some kind of new hybrid monster. They were really good in the regular season, but they seem to be great in the postseason. Weigh in on that.
Yeah, so we, like, as coaches in the league, you always talk about, like, you want to continue to get better as the year goes on, and I think that they're the perfect example of that. Like, we played them early in the year, and we thought they were a good defense, not great, and then we played them late in the season, and they were, suffocating, and not just in the games that we played on against them, but like just watching them on film, preparing. And I think they're the typical group that the sum of their parts is greater than any of their individual players. They do such a good job of playing together. They really don't make mistakes. Everyone knows their job and they execute their job. And I think that trust, and that the more reps you play together, they've gotten better and better, and they've gained confidence too, So like what you're saying in the postseason, I mean, they're definitely playing their best, but I saw that over the course of the season, just evaluating their tape. We were getting ready to play them, in both the games. And I think that's a credit to the coaching, obviously, their defensive staff as well as Coach Rabel.
You know what I've noticed a lot about their defense in the playoffs? Toward the end of the year this happened. They're doing a lot more of what looks like that Flores Viking stuff, where they're like, everybody's at the line, 6 and 7 standing there. You don't know who's coming and who's going. And Washington's trying to tap into that with Durante Jones coming over. Flores' is right-hand man to be their new coordinator. But it seems like they've really turned up the heat on that. End of the year, you guys saw some of that, where it's like, how do you account for who's going where after the snap? And they've done a lot of that in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. And it really used to be that really showed up on third down and mainly 3rd and 7 to 10, because, a lot of times when you get in those exotic fronts, you're afraid of getting runs popped on you. But nowadays, and Flores is really the one that started it, but more and more teams are doing it. Like, if you get in that 2nd and long or that get back on track or the more obvious passing situations, it's showing up more and more. And I think that it's really a credit to these defensive coaches of just being a little bit more aggressive. And hey, if you lose a gap and you give up a run, you rally, make a tackle, and then you're on to the next play. But getting those ability to create those negative plays or the turnovers, the things that really change games. If you can do that on 2nd down instead of just always waiting to get someone stuck in 3rd and 8 or whatever to present those types of issues to an offense. And I think that's something that's been a little bit more in vogue. And like I said, Flores is a guy that really kind of started that trend, or one of the people that did, and then it's really kind of caught fire across the league. As is anything, whenever somebody does something well, people, everyone's got everyone's tape and they watch it and then they try to emulate it.
What I've been trying to figure out, because Washington, the reason I'm interested, we're not in Minnesota, obviously, but you've coached against this Flores defense. There are other teams that do conceptual things, and you're right. The movement is now less just 3rd down, 1st and 2nd down. But this defense really does mask deficiencies. They had a lot of success with it. If that's what the Commanders are going to run, what are the holes, or how do you attack it? Why doesn't everyone do it if it's such an amazing thing? And I love it, but it's not the norm.
No, it's not. And I think, personnel-wise, you need some guys that are kind of those hybrid players, like the Josh Metellus at the Vikings, that is kind of like a linebacker safety, but he's also a good blitzer, you know what I mean? And there's different players that, those stand-up defensive ends but can also do a good job of dropping in coverage, because that's what that defense does, is they try to do a really good job of, showing everybody up on the line, but then they'll run back into some version of cover 2, or showing up on the line and then everybody comes, you know what I mean? And then there's combinations of that, or they'll run like a voided fire zone where instead of normally in a fire zone defense it's 3 deep, 3 under, but they'll go 3 deep, 2 under, and then you have to, and then those two guys have to match routes. So you can't just have your standard, these are my 4D linemen, these are my 2 linebackers, and then here's my nickel and DBs. You got to have guys that kind of have hybrid type ability. So the personnel matters, and I'm sure that in Washington they're probably already talking about that of what guys can we get in free agency, what guys do we have on our roster that can kind of fit these roles that you'll see, and that the guys on the Vikings like a Metellus or those players can do. So it's a personnel. There's a personnel aspect to it. as well. Because again, you got to have guys that can rush but also cover, and then also ability to stop the run, as opposed to like your typical defense where, these are my D tackles, these are my D. You understand kind of what I'm saying there. And I think, and then the other part is like, if you don't really understand it, like if you pressure a lot, well, if the other team picks it up, then you don't have a lot of guys in coverage, like I'm saying, with like a voided fire zone or something like that. And you're obviously susceptible to big time explosive plays. And you're going to have to live with those to a certain extent, but like, you got to limit them as well. You can't just be giving up a ton of them. You're going to give up some of them if you play aggressive like that, but you hope that the big plays that you can make as a defense are going to counteract that for you.
Scott, I want to go one more big picture, all sort of offensive question for you, as someone that does this for a living. I'm old enough to remember, you and I are about the same age. I'm old enough to remember two teams that lined up primarily in the shotgun, or did it a lot, met in the Super Bowl last year. And now it's like, ew, you like shotgun? It's like liking the uncool thing in middle school all of a sudden, right? It's the
right.
Craziest trend. Now it's like it's a non-starter that people are even doing that. I think there's a place at the table for everything, but I feel like just trends are coming and going faster than they ever have in this copycat league. And B, I'd love for you to speak to that, to some of the value maybe that you can have with shotgun, because now it seems to be out of favor.
No, for sure. And like you said, like, again, trends come and go. I think a lot of that is your quarterback. Like, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes from last year, like those guys, they feel more comfortable in the shotgun. I know Philly's offense, they struggled this past year, but last year they were pretty efficient. Obviously, they were really good at running the ball, again, out of shotgun, but they still did it. And then the same thing with Kansas City. Like, you just want the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands. You're going to get in the gun. Everyone's going to play pass first against them, and then you'll pop your runs here and there, when you can. I think, but just scheme-wise, like in the league, like everybody wants the wide zone, Shanahan, McVay system where you're going to be under center. You're going to get the hard play action passes. You're getting a little bit more downhill from the linebackers because you're playing under center. I think, like, I've been in different systems where the quarterback, if you have a mobile quarterback, it allows you to play in shotgun a little bit more because the defense has to treat the quarterback as a legitimate running threat when in shotgun. When he's under center, yeah, he can run a naked bootleg, but he's not necessarily going to be part of the run game. So I think that has something to do with it as well. Like, I know, it's a big debate with you guys in Washington because of Jayden Daniels, and I think a lot of people I've heard some rumblings. A lot of people would like him to play under center a little bit more. Well, he was hurt this past year, but he looked pretty good playing in gun a year ago. And again, it brings his legs more into play when you're playing in gun. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't play under center more. I'm just giving an analysis of kind of why these things happen. I think that, like, a lot of these quarterbacks too, like, they come, especially when they're young, like they come from playing mostly in gun, and then there's a transition. Like, yeah, you want to get them under center, you want to do the run, you want to do the play action, but you maybe their rookie year, if they're playing, it's a little bit more shotgun to under center, and then the next year you're transitioning to a little bit more under center as they feel more comfortable doing that. Because a lot of these guys in college, like, they never play with their back to the defense. So if you're under center and you're coming back with a play action fake, like, you're turning your back to defense. And I like some young quarterbacks I've been around, that's an uncomfortable feeling to them because they've never done it before. They always are facing the defense, even on any type of run fake from the gun. So there's a lot to go in it, but I think the biggest thing is, like, that comfort level from the quarterback position.
Scott Turner, former play caller here in D.C. What's the thing that you think teams should do more offensively? Like, I'll give you an example. I always have said throwing the ball to running backs is just an underused asset to me. Like, in space, scat back, check it down, let him make a play. Tom Brady made a killing doing that with name the running, Deion Lewis and James White and Kevin Falk. What's something you think just generally teams should do more of on offense?
Yeah, my biggest thing is I think you have to push the ball down the field more. Like, I think you have to get the ball thrown, over 15 yards down the field and make these guys cover. Now, you got to protect up front, and that's where the play action gets into it. That's what where we're talking about, like, Seattle has done a good job of the play action, creating explosive plays. But, like, I think that, a lot of the times the DBs can struggle to cover. There's a lot of rules as far as them not being able to grab. There's a lot of really talented receivers, and I think the ability to push the ball down the field and not, like, take the defense off the hook, that's where, I think that, a lot of times as an offensive coach or just in meetings I've been, you'll talk yourself out of it because you're afraid of what might happen negatively, but then you end up putting yourself in a box, and you only make the defense cover a certain area where, you can make them uncomfortable by pushing the ball down the field, not being afraid of an incomplete pass, getting to 2nd and 10. But I think that's the one thing, just off the top of my head, I would say that needs to happen more is the, that really pushing the ball down the field and not being afraid to do that.
So, Scott, the follow up to that, then it feels like defensive coordinators and defenses got tired of that happening to them. Like they got tired of being on Sports Center or NFL Network or whatever, and a guy getting chased in the highlights. It feels like everything now was to prevent that.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that a lot of times off the play action pass, like that's where, you just got to trust your quarterback and call it, because if you come off the fake and everybody pushes deep, throw the ball to the back and they tackle them and it's a 6-yard gain. If I'd always joke if like we ran the ball and got a 6-yard gain, our two line coaches are chest bumping each other on the sideline, and if you throw a check down, everyone's like, oh no, check down Charlie. Well, 6 yards is 6 yards, so the training of the quarterback where you got to trust him that, hey, if it's not there, find your check down, find your outlet. But just being not being afraid to call it is kind of more of the issue to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Scott Turner on Grant and Danny. 2024, you were with the Raiders during the draft process. I don't know that you guys were necessarily desperate for a quarterback, but you were picking in the top 15. I'm imagining they had you evaluate those guys. How did you rank the QBs that came out in 24?
So we really did want a quarterback, and we just picked 13th, and 5 guys, I think it was 5, went before we were able to pick.
6 in the top 12.
Yeah.
Because you guys, Brock 6. Bowers is a hell of a pick.
We picked Brock, which is great. So again, I'm not going to give you revisionist history. I'll tell you my honest ranking. So I liked Caleb. I was with everybody else. I think he was pretty much unanimous. Number 1. And then I had Jayden slightly 2, right before Drake. And I kind of went back and forth with them. But I felt like Jayden played better, obviously, his last year, and felt a little more comfortable with him. And then Drake. And then I was a big fan of Michael Penix. So I know the injury part of it, and that part's tough. The reason I really liked him was every single one of their games, like they put it on his shoulders. He was, they either won or lost based off what he did. They threw the ball almost every play, and there's something to be said for that. He elevated both programs he played at. And again, the injury stuff is tough, but it's purely as a film evaluation. That's where I had him ranked. And then Bo Nix, and then JJ after that. So that's how I had those guys ranked. But like I actually had the top 4 a little bit higher, and then I felt like there was a little bit of drop off after that. Now Bo Nix has obviously played really well. I probably should have had him a little bit a higher opinion of him coming out, but that's how I had it at the time.
One more in the Super Bowl for me, Scott, just thinking about it. I always love when you get, a great offense against a great defense or vice versa or kind of something in between. But here, I don't quite have that, like, one side of the ball is excellent versus another side of the ball is excellent. It just feels like everybody's pretty good here. What do you think is going to decide this game ultimately between these two really good teams?
So I think both defenses are excellent. And the other thing, and I talked about it, I don't know, I was on my sister, I'll get a quick plug, my sister and my dad's podcast, Family Business, that I was on, and we talked about the Super Bowl. And the one thing I said that's not being talked about, and people don't talk about it much, is both of these teams have elite special teams. So, obviously the Ram guy muffed the punt, and that's what was a big factor in the NFC Championship game. But both of these teams are they fly around on special teams. They don't give up a lot of yards. So you see the opening kickoff of the divisional round game with the Seahawks against the 49ers set the tone for that game. So I think there's going to be a big play on special teams. It's going to help to decide the game. We talked about the explosive plays that Seattle makes. That's going to be a big factor. And then the other thing, I wouldn't necessarily count out New England's offense. I know they haven't played as well, but if you look at the defenses that they've played, in my opinion, they played the 2 best defenses in the league the last 2 weeks, and then the week before that, they played the Chargers, who aren't too bad themselves. So some of those postseason numbers are a little skewed based off who you're playing. And Drake May's the one thing that he's done is he's got a great ability to throw the ball, to push the ball down the field. And they got some playmakers in receiver, obviously starting with Diggs, where they'd have a chance to do that. I think it's going to be a really good game. But I think, again, based on how they're playing, I think Seattle's offense is playing better than New England's, but I wouldn't count them out, like I said, based off of, the quality opponent that they played over the course of the playoffs.
You guys know whenever we have an offensive coordinator and play caller on the show, how I end these conversations.
This is your favorite bet.
All right. So Scott Turner has called many a play into a helmet. So I want to go round the horn here. First, Ryan generally does the worst job at this, so we'll start with him. So, Scott, I want you to give us a play call as if you're going into the helmet, and then they've got to repeat it back in the huddle. You get what I'm saying here?
Yep.
All right. So, Ryan, you got your green dot. You got your helmet on?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
I'll give you like a medium one. It won't be too bad. So it's buzz right, late flipper, waggle 3, deep 288 cloud.
Bars right.
Nope.
Late flipper.
He botched it already, didn't he, Scott?
It was buzz.
No, he's good. He's good.
I thought he said
You
bars.
said buzz. Didn't you say buzz, Scott?
Yeah, buzz right.
No, he said bars.
No, I did.
Oh, yeah, so-
I thought he said buzz.
Well, okay, you guys threw me. Let me get through this.
Well, you have to say it correctly.
You can't just
We're
say
gonna stop
bars.
Well, you guys are talking. Let me hear Scott. Let me hear the play call.
I didn't interrupt Scott.
you. I thought that's what we did.
I didn't interrupt Scott at all.
I'm Matt Stafford. You guys are Sean McVay.
This guy's
you
not
guys are
coachable,
overtalking.
Scott. That's the problem.
Get him out of the drill.
He's not coachable. All right, I'm going to be the lady at the spelling bee dinging the bell when you screw up, and now I'm really going to come for him. All right, so say it again, Scott.
Okay, here we go. We got buzz right, late flipper, waggle 3, deep 288 cloud.
Buzz right, late flipper, 38 cloud. Yeah.
No.
Nope.
Botched. All right, Toby, you're up. You ready for this?
Let's do this.
All right, Scott, let's give Toby a play call. By the way, what was that play?
So that was an under center play. You start with a bunch to the field, and then you motion the receiver off the ball like a jet motion back into the boundary. Snap it once you cross the tackle, and then you get the X receiver and then that motion receiver. They run like double posts, and then the point you fake the run to the left, and then you run a deep crossing route by the point guy. So you're trying to clear out everybody into the boundary and bring a deep crosser back underneath. It's good against the teams that always anchor their nickels to the field. I don't know if that makes sense to you. But
sounds like it's got a
linebacker.
little Ben Johnson play we got developing here from Scott Turner. All right, Toby.
All right.
You're ready. You got the green dot?
Let's do it.
Okay, we got gun, twins right, fly, key left, 695, F drag, sneak.
Gun, twins right, fly. Man, I'm lost after there.
All right, Danny, you're up.
Oh,
Here
crap.
we go.
This, by the way, this is when I was 16 years old. We did the ADHD test.
Yeah.
They would do stuff like this to me and be like, comb, computer, TV, and I'd be like, comb, and then I couldn't remember any of it. I have no chance.
This is my favorite bit. You
I
know this.
stink of this.
It's
All right,
so
Scott,
fun.
give me an easy one. Give me like a one-word audible or something, like a check with me.
Tobacco.
Whatever, I can do it. I'll just go ahead. I'll embarrass myself.
All right, here we go. We got gun, change to twins left, key right, 086, Y mesh, swing.
Gun change, key left, division right. The Division
right.
2, Tom Clancy's Division 2 video game, Destiny 2, Borderlands 4. I'm currently playing.
All right, last one we
On
got
one.
Darius. So Scott, give me one more play here. What do you got?
Oh, I gotta keep going here. Okay, so we got
That's your whole playbook.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay,
Get
we got
out the Al Saunders 500-page playbook.
Gun, float right, gone right, 024, Y mesh, H bullet.
Oh, man. HP Blades.
I thought I had it, and then once I got to the second
You're not
portion,
even
I was like,
trying.
yeah.
So you know what I like about this? It does sound like you're essentially telling every player their route with the word, like when you go through Y and H, like they're being told. So everyone just got to listen for their thing, right?
Yeah, and this is an argument that goes back and forth, and I've been in both sides. And like a lot of those plays, like the last three plays, I told you, like we have a code word for it. So like we could call it. I just wanted to give you guys the full play, so
Sure.
to make it harder on you. But
But in like 2 minutes, you can just say what?
We call it flash, we call it mesh, or we'll call it like that last one was called chief, and basically, but and this goes back. I mean, this goes back to like Joe Gibbs and Don Coryell back at like San Diego State, and when they would get a bunch of junior college guys, so like they would get a bunch of receivers that necessarily were only in the system for like a year or two, and basically if they knew, all they had to do was teach them to line up, and then based on where they lined up, they knew what number they were associated with. So the argument is like, okay, you get the quarterback, and like you can make it easier on the quarterback by just making it one word, right? But if you make it one word, now it's just rogue memorization, and everybody has to know, like, all right, what does mesh mean, or what does chief mean? But then but the quarterback's supposed to be the smartest guy on the team. So if you give out the whole play call, like, yeah, the quarterback's got to enunciate that, and he's got to call it in the huddle. But you're telling every single person what it is they need to do, so then they can go get lined up, and then they can play fast. And there's a balance, and like that's what I said. Like those 3 plays I gave you at the end there, those were like standard plays. They were in our 2-minute. You run them all the time, so everyone knew those plays. So like we could just use the code word, and it wasn't an issue.
So could I like on a 2-minute, I could just be yelling out to the receiver like flash, flash, flash.
Yeah, we would say like like twins right key left would be like the code word. That would be Toyota. We'd say Toyota flash, and then everyone knew you're going to line up in twins right. It was the key left was the protection, and then flash was the route combination, which is 695
for this.
Oh man,
this is my favorite bit.
This is your favorite bit.
I mean, I could just this is my happy place. Just hearing these.
Yeah,
very good, Scott. It's fun, man, having you on and chatting ball. We'll do it again soon, hopefully. Thanks very much, and I know there's a lot going on, and I'm sure you're talking to teams and everything. So best of luck this offseason.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, just trying to figure out what's next, man. But yeah, really enjoyed it, guys, and thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, bud.
It's fun. We'll do it again. There's Scott Turner, former play caller here in D.C. with Washington.